Faster Mike, good afternoon. Welcome to Mannin Line on Manx Radio. Well, last Thursday and Friday, two Ramsey MHKs were on. The Minister for Treasury, Alex Allinson, Dr. Allinson was on. And on Friday, Laurie Hooper, Minister for the Department of Health and Social Care. We touched on Ramsey with them being Ramsey MHKs, but today, let's get to the heart of it. One of the Ramsey Town Commissioners, Lead Commissioner on Finance and General Purpose, is on Manx Radio today. Juan McGuinness is with us. Faster Mike, good afternoon.
Hi Andy, how are you?
How long have you been a Commissioner, Juan?
Well, first of all, before I answer that, I just got to say what a Manx bucket list thing it is for me to be on the Mannin Line. Many in the 90s listening to Marge Jock and phone in as a child. So, this is nice. I've been a Commissioner since April 2016, so coming on 7 years now.
Okay, what led you to stick your head above the parapet to become a Commissioner?
Love Ramsey, just want to give something back to the town, want to see it thrive.
Okay, so the commissioners, I mentioned this last week, and it tends to get overlooked. Ramsey's the second biggest town on the Isle of Man.
Is it not the biggest town?
Well, no, obviously Douglas being a city now.
Exactly,
but
so it's the biggest town.
Yeah, it's the biggest town. And marches to the beat of a different drum. The north of the Isle of Man is different. It's different in kind of in culture. It's different in attitude, I think. So just tell me about what's the feeling within the commissioners in terms of the progress of Ramsey. Which way is it marching?
Listen, I wouldn't speak for every other commissioner on the board, but for me, I think it's just improving. It's moving forward. There's some niggles. Everyone's got things that can be improved, but I think you look at Ramsey 20 years ago to now. I think the regeneration in the town centre's gone well. Whilst it was, teething problems while it was being done, but I think it's come out the other side. It's thriving. It's people want to move there. Developments, whether you like them or not, want to be built up there. The population has been stagnant for a while, but I think it's starting to go in the right direction. I think the town is on the up.
And I'm just eager to get to the nub of it, really, in that one of the things we hear often is that the character of the Isle of Man is being eroded by bringing, whether they are multiples, shop multiples and what have you. So I'm just wondering how you keep the spirit of something like Ramsey, the quirky, the quaintness sometimes of Ramsey, but also it being in the 21st century, and everybody's got to make a living on Parliament Street and elsewhere.
Yeah, I think that's a balance and a challenge that we all face. We're very fortunate in Ramsey that we're filled with independent retailers. It's got that vibe. We haven't got identikit with any other town in the UK. We're completely unique in that regard. And I think the people in Ramsey have just got a real spirit, and everyone's really passionate about the town, and that comes across in many different ways. But yeah, people from Ramsey are from Ramsey. Okay,
now you've talked before about wanting government to review the rates process. Why?
Well, I think it's just massively outdated. I think basing what you pay as a rateable value because of how your house would have been rented out in 1959 or whatever it was, or the 60s, it's just fundamentally incorrect. And I'm not saying that the idea they had last time of square footage is perfect, but ultimately it's got, at least people are going to understand it, and you don't have to explain based on the archaic structure we've got in the moment.
Okay, is this something you get from the public, or is it a policy?
It's definitely from the public. Every year when we put our rates up, you have to sort of explain, and even when you're explaining it, I'm not suggesting for a second I'm an expert in it, it just sounds ridiculous coming out of my mouth. So, you look at your rates, 400 and whatever p in the pound, what does that mean? Well, there's this number up on the left-hand side of your page, that's a number at £120. Well, where's that come from? 50 years ago. It just doesn't make any sense.
In terms of planning as well within Ramsey and, squaring the circle of maintaining the character of Ramsey and also making it vibrant, where does the commissioners, I'm not asking you to speak for everybody, but what's the thinking on planning and development, particularly brownfield sites?
So with the area plan, we responded, desperately want our brownfield sites to be redeveloped. It's before we move out, before we see large housing estates, I would like to see more investment put into the centre of the town. We've got a few vacant plots that do bring down what is otherwise a beautiful town centre, and I think that some good development that is conscious of the area around it is needed.
Okay. I mean, is there an open door for developers to come in? I mean, if somebody wants to take up, there are lots of big buildings in Ramsey, some derelict stuff as well. If somebody wanted to come in and put flats in there, is there an open door to that, or any barrier to entry?
I wouldn't say an open door, but I'd certainly say the commissioners are very keen to listen and be open to that. Obviously, we don't have the final say. That's down to the planners, and you've got that conservation area there. But I know the commissioners have been very supportive of a lot of opportunities for change and development in the town.
Okay, I mean, do you think local authorities should be given more planning power?
Not necessarily. I think there's so many skill sets required that it might become an additional burden on the ratepayer to have that expertise and the staffing. But I think to be fair, that the planners do take into consideration what local authorities say, and that's probably the right way of doing it, as long as development continues.
Okay. I mean, can you speak about this proposed development at the Vollen? Obviously, tomorrow evening there's a consultation at Ramsey, a town hall from 4 till 8. I mean, a possible school, community facilities. What's the thinking?
So, having seen the plans, it is an area that is currently zoned for development, and I think in the proposed plan has been removed. So that's an interesting discussion. I think we need to, if the island's growing along with Alf Cannon's plan, then Ramsey has to, as a percentage, grow with the rest of the island. That seems to be a valid scheme. I think you have to be concerned about more infrastructure coming across the Stonebridge in Ramsey. That's a concern for me, but north and west are the only two directions realistically open to expansion of Ramsey at the moment. And I'm a bit suspicious about the other side developments like the school. I think that is something that has to be designated because of the planning restrictions on it. But whether the Department for Education would actually be interested in building a school or not, that's a different matter.
No, do you think they must have spoken to the education people about a possible school, surely?
One would have presumed so, but I think that plan requirement predates the current schools having been built on the Zare Road, and that, as far as I'm aware, that's just something the developers have to zone. It doesn't necessarily mean that something will be built.
Okay. A note in, this is Keith, who just said, can Ewan explain the 233% rise for the permit for Moorrock Park from £30 to £100?
Yeah, I think £30 was incredibly low for a 6-month permit. If you put that by week, it works out. So you can have 3 days per week, so it works out at 50p a night for staying there, which I think is unbelievably cheap. There's been a lot of calls from people who use that facility to add in a grey water ditch. That all costs money, so putting the cost up means we can potentially reinvest in the future.
Okay, is that site going to get any bigger as well?
I don't believe so. It's restricted pretty much by the broogs around it.
Yeah. And interesting, because that north end of Moorrock has become, well, it's a bit of a hotspot, obviously, because the lake itself has been cleaned up, and now with Costa in the park as well, it's a lot better than it was.
Yeah, the Moorrock is absolutely the jewel in the crown of the Ramsey in the north, and I think for years, I said it as a Ramsey resident, I just took it for granted. You know, just went there and it's absolutely lovely. Over lockdown, it was an absolute perfect, idyllic place to be able to go and take a walk for your daily walk a day. And I think we've in recent years really built on that. We've decorated the shelters on North Prom with artwork. We're putting forward plans to paint the shelters in the park with more artwork, all from local artists. I think it's got a chance to just grow and be incredibly vibrant and brilliant place to visit.
What was the thinking behind the artwork in the shelters?
So whenever I go travelling, I absolutely love street art. I think it's something I always look out for. I love going on street art tours in cities, and Ramsey had not got any real street art. So I put forward a proposal a couple of years ago to get the shelters on North Prom. They're just sitting there, white walls. There's a perfect opportunity to do something with what we already have.
Okay, and who's the artist?
Oh, well, there's very completely different artists. So every single shelter's got a different artist, so and a different style, all based on a common theme on the North Prom, just what Ramsey and the Moorrock Park and sea life. So you've got 5 on the North Prom, 5 different views of what Ramsey and the Isle of Man's about, which I think is, is another beautiful aspect to it.
Okay, and what's the story behind is it the flower shop being completely painted? What was the story behind that?
The owners of the building really wanted to decorate their building in a very prominent place in Parliament Street, something different. Got a local artist who's since moved back to Poland to do it, and that again is just a real vibrant talking point in the town. I think it just adds to the whole vibe, and hopefully there's more of it. There's plenty of blank walls I see walking around town. I think that would be fantastic to have some art on.
Okay, I've got a message in from Roy who just says, how can I see are the Ramsey Commissioners meetings streamed? Is there a video stream?
Yeah, that's something else I got in. So for the past year on Facebook, Ramsey Town Commissioners board meetings, public board meetings are streamed, and you can watch back every single one and watch them all live on the third Wednesday of every month.
And how are the meetings, by the way? Now you've 6 years or so. What's your feeling about the meetings?
I still enjoy them. They're very different as the boards changed the past couple of years ago. That's changed the dynamic a bit. I think we spend a lot of time talking about things that perhaps aren't as important, and sometimes really important issues sort of move through quite quickly, but you just can't tell. You look at a board paper and think, oh, this will be a long meeting. It's not, and vice versa.
What would you say to any young person who's interested? Because, I mean, obviously, I'm just interested as to why you wanted to become a commissioner, and that kind of wall between the public, particularly young people, and politicians, and actually getting stuff done. How would you, convince a young person to get involved in politics?
Just do it. I mean, just stand, just show an interest. If you're passionate about a particular, I think a lot of people get into this sort of thing through a particular trigger point or a particular passion that makes them delve deeper into it, and then that sort of broadens their horizons. But ultimately, it does, and hopefully the live streams will open this up. It feels very, so on the third Wednesday of the month, you've got to go to the town hall through the sort of back door and sit, and it all seems a bit stuffy. But the more you do it, the more it all starts making sense. Just, we publish our minutes and our agendas every month online, have a read of them, follow through issues, ask questions, just get involved.
Okay, text to 366, loads of messages in. This is one of them. Could you ask Joan what's happening to the old Albert Road school site?
Yeah, so this is another thing I proposed and got the commission to do. We have purchased it. It made perfect sense to me to tie into Close Warry, which is a housing development, Commissioner's housing development next door that needs to be knocked down and redone. So buying the space next door gives us an opportunity to build a bigger and better social housing in the centre of town.
Okay, and talking of housing as well, I mean, what, 500?
557.
Dwelling, and also sheltered housing as well that you oversee.
The Northern Sheltered Housing Association is based of all the local authorities in the north, and I think we provide like admin clerk services to that.
How important do you think public sector housing is?
Yeah, in this current climate where getting on the property ladder is getting harder and harder, and the cost of living, I think there is a desperate need for social housing. I think Ramsey is very fortunate to be well serviced with an awful lot of houses in percentage to its current growth. I worry when we start purchasing what are first-time buyers' houses, because there doesn't appear to be the take-up of it. I would much rather leave them open for first-time buyers on developments and us to develop our own social housing sector stuff. But for the most part, I think it plays an important role.
Ramsey is, by and large, the only place on the Isle of Man with a tower block, obviously in the square. Could you ever foresee a public sector tower block? Have you ever thought about that?
I don't think a tower block, not to that size. I would definitely see Ramsey Town Commissioners building flats in the town centre, but certainly nothing to that size.
Okay, I mean that's what is that 15 stories in St Paul's Square?
Yeah, it's up. Well, yeah, I haven't counted it recently, but yeah, it's up there. 12.
Yeah, it's just one of those things that you can get a lot of people, high density population, in whether it's a low rise or a high rise block as well. I just wonder whether that's something that the commissioners had ever looked at.
Low rise certainly, but I think whilst I look at that apartment block in St Paul's Square and not St Paul's Square, just on the seafront there. If I had one of the flats up at the top with the sea view, I think I'd like it very much. But generally, I don't think it's that great a visual aspect to the town.
Okay, another one message in. How much did the commissioners pay for the Albert Road site?
Oh, you're asking now. I can't remember off the top of my head. I think it was around £400,000.
Okay, this is a 399 texter for Juan. Yes, Murray Park's the jewel in the crown, but the idea of plastic bunting is awful to scare the seagulls. It'll be noisy, it'll blow away in the wind and create pollution as well. Isn't it fine that people feed the seagulls?
Speaking as the only person who voted against that bunting, I would probably agree with that. I think it's been blown out of all proportion, but I don't know whether it's going to be plastic bunting. I have no idea what the staff are going to do to adhere to that agreement from the board. I wouldn't recommend feeding the seagulls in the park. I don't want to encourage them, but seagulls were here before Ramsey existed, and they'll probably still be here long after Ramsey's gone.
Texter 068 just says, I love the Ramsey prom shelters are amazing. I love them. And the Murrock is a beautiful park as well. Getting on to this is Ronnie, who messaged in just to say the quay development that Ramsey commissioners, did you vote against the DOI for that quayside development?
Yeah, we did.
How high was the wall going to be?
Oh, definitely over 4 foot, around 4 foot, if not taller. So
now, when you said no to that, that cut off a lot of money from DOI. What was the thinking behind that?
Well, I think it shouldn't be a case of this is the plan, and if you say no, you don't get it. What it should be is what we want is the right plan for all the stakeholders, and if the response, I don't think the response from the DOI has been you don't get the money. They've been engaging with the businesses in town, and we've sent like a couple of commissioners to go and sort of deal with that over the past year. So hopefully what will happen is they'll come back with a new plan that's more acceptable to all parties.
That would have cut down a lot of car parking spaces, wouldn't it?
Yeah, it was looking to be reducing the car parking by 50 spaces in the town, which I think on a permanent basis is not possible. One of Ramsey's USPs is the fact that you can come and get a parking space in town.
And parking it on the quayside and just going down the cut-throughs and going onto Parliament Street is part of the charm. So what's the stage with the DOI at the moment? Are you talking?
They've been talking for some time, and as far as I'm aware, they've got a rough plan, and they've got to come to the board and the public with the next stage of the design.
Okay. How much do the commissioners talk to the Chamber of Commerce?
So I'm currently the Chamber of Commerce representative. They meet once a quarter. Unfortunately, I missed the past couple. I had to take my dad to A&E last time. But we do meet on a regular. I meet on a regular basis with the committee. We talked last March. We started talking about Christmas, which upset me no end, I can assure you, to sort of see what we can do, which is why we put the grotto on and try to do Ramsey and Bling, try to do different things. So I think we, talk. Obviously, there's a couple of members who are business owners in the town as well as commissioners. So, yeah, I think there's pretty open lines of communication there.
What do the retailers, we heard today about the rise in electricity prices. And, very quietly, some people are clawing at the walls. Everybody's having a tough time. Most people are putting on a very brave face of it. And again, what's the thinking up and down Parliament Street and elsewhere?
I think it's just a really, really tough time for everybody. We're in a really difficult position where all the utilities, be it gas or electricity, are going up. And people's spending money is going down. So businesses have to, make a profit, and each business is going to be going through their different ways of dealing with that.
Here's a message in. Ditchy on 458. What are the chances of the commissioners getting involved in the pier? Great opportunity for Ramsey to bring visitors in.
I love the pier. We have helped out as best we can. So we've stored a number of their planks and railings and whatever have you on our land for them for free while they've been working through. I would say it's a difficult one from a legislative point of view, because a statutory point of view, because because they're a charity, there's certain things that we can and can't do with ratepayers' money, and we can't necessarily give directly to a charitable organisation. So we help in other ways, like I said, with the restoring goods. And to be honest, I'm sure every single person in the Commissioner just would love to see that pier back to its glory, because it would be a massive boost for the town.
Okay, and where would the Commissioner's responsibility start and finish geographically? Let's just say the pier opens whenever. Where would you just be responsible up to the entrance for it, presumably?
I would presume so, because I would imagine that it would all be dependent on who takes it on. I assume the Queen's Pier Restoration Trust would have a deal with the DOI, whoever it is, to maintain it and run it, and that would be their responsibility.
And another message in, lots of them in today. What's the proportion? Do you know how many shops are closed on Parliament Street? How many are empty?
I don't off the top of my head, but I do know we're quite fortunate in having a fair bit of churn. So just this weekend, what used to be the pet shop that had moved on to the quay, that's Tanya Dolores has opened a shop there, a shoe shop. She's moved on from somewhere else in town. That's going to be taken on. So there are... It's never good to see businesses close, but it's also nice to see other businesses open up, and there does seem to be still some demand for shops.
HSBC going, though, is a bit of a blow.
It is, but I think that we're incredibly fortunate to be serviced by 3 other banks in the street, and if you're taking a different view, maybe the customers of HSBC that want to shop local, they'll keep the other 3 banks in business longer.
Ramsey rates, this is 228. Ramsey rates have gone up 25% in 5 years. Let me see, didn't get all of that message in. Have they gone up 25%?
I don't know off the top of my head, but that could be possible. They did go up 0% for the 5 years before that, and I think that's probably the way to look at it, that we had 5 years of 0 rate rises, and we've had to pay for that.
Okay. A lot of the things that are popular in Ramsey, including the outdoor stuff, obviously the Sprint, Ramsey Rocks as well, Street Festival and stuff like that. Is everything going ahead this year?
Yeah, Ramsey Rocks will be taking place hopefully on the bank holiday weekend in August. Sprint Fest will be in Marketplace in Ramsey for the middle weekend of TT. Finish on the new Sprint Day, which will be the Monday with the race day break. And yeah, I think it's massively important for the town to have a lot of vibrant activities to be known for. We've got a lot of public space in the Moor Park. We had a picnic in the park last year, which would hopefully be brought back this year. It's the best place on the island, I would say, to watch fireworks. Obviously, with the Isle of Man, you can never predict the weather, but if you've got to keep on doing these things, and I think we've got some fantastic reasons to visit the town. Did
you know that the fireworks were going to be so popular? I mean, I've been there when you can't get out for 40 minutes.
Yeah.
I mean, it's absolute. Do you remember the first firework display after the lockdowns finished?
Yeah.
It was jam-packed.
Yeah, it really. And I don't think... It's been going for so many years. It became a good, well-kept secret that the Ramsey people just kept to themselves. I think the place because the fireworks go off from the island in the middle of the lake, and the views are fantastic. On a still night, the reflections off the water, it's like 2 shows for the price of 1. So yeah, I think, and then of course the downside is you've got a couple of choke points leaving, but my top tip is simply park in the town, walk over. It's only a 10-minute walk, and you can visit a place to eat or drink on the way back.
Okay, do the commissioners, is that public money funding the fireworks?
Yeah, it is, yeah.
Can you tell us how much they cost?
I think the fireworks last time cost about £8,000, and then our labour cost a couple of £1,000 after that.
Okay. Well, with Juan McGuinness, Lead Commissioner on Finance and General Purposes in Ramsey, at Ramsey Commissioners today. If you want to get in touch, text, email, call, WhatsApp, we're on till 1.
Right. I say, when you're looking for the perfect bathroom, get your silly walk over to Pacesetter, where you'll get friendly help and advice on bathrooms that will work for you. From practical, accessible bathrooms for aging users to the ultimate in luxury designs with walk-in showers and wet rooms, with no inquisitions, dead birds or hard sell. You'll always be on the bright side of life when you see the stunning range on display at Pacesetter Tile and Bathroom Studio, Harris Terrace, Douglas. Or search online for Pacesetter Douglas.
You're in the car and you've been circling the car park for what feels like forever. No spaces in sight and the queues are backing up behind you. Then, out of the corner of your eye, you spot someone with shopping walking towards you. They gesture that their car is right next to you. and the only space is now yours. Woohoo! This is how it feels when you save over £500 versus MT with our broadband, home, phone and mobile bundle. Start saving at shaw.com. T's and C's apply.
Do you know a scrap man? 'Cause I've got scrap to clear. Cars in copper, brass and lead, and I need cash for beer.
What? You don't know a scrap man? Gastains of Vauxhall is the one for you. Gastains will take all scrap metal and is also licensed for dry cell and lead acid batteries. So don't delay. Ring 801 337 now.
So now we know a scrap man and all our scrap's been cleared. Ring 801 337, then have cash for beer. Call Costains today and get yourself a beer.
Our mum was incredible, unforgettable. She was our family. How do you give someone like her a fitting memorial? T.E. Cubban found the way. They took our ideas and created the memorial and inscription that Mum really deserved. We couldn't have asked for more.
T.E. Cubban at the top of Broadway in Douglas and Hope Street, Castletown. Call 844 440. A family-run firm serving families for over 150 years.
1368 and 648 AM, Radio Caroline North.
It's time for another Caroline North, live from our historic radio ship, the Ross Revenge. This time round, we're playing the best music from the 60s, 70s, 80s and 90s. We got some money you can win to spend in the web shop with our competition. And the weekend is sponsored by Turton Tower Woodland Cafe. Join us this weekend, live from the Ross Revenge at Radio Caroline North and Manx Radio.
The Mannin Line with Andy Wint.
And Joe McGuinness from Ramsey Town Commissioners with us today. Question is, do Costa have a contract for the facility at Murrock Park?
Yeah, they've got a 10-year lease.
10-year lease. That's with you?
Yeah, because it's Ramsey Town Commissioners building, yeah.
You happy with Costa?
Yeah, at the end of the day, they open and they provide a service that everyone knows and understands, and it's a good, reliable source of a cup of coffee and a hot drink in the park.
Okay, who's responsible for litter collection, litter disposal in Ramsey?
Ramsey Town Commissioners.
Okay, any problems with that?
I don't think so. We've recently installed larger bins, which have been lovely renamed TARDISes because they're big and blue, and that, whilst they do seem to be more visible.
You have a litter warden, don't you?
We have a town warden.
We have
a town warden, part-time town warden, who deals with a wide variety of matters.
Okay, and is that enforcing bylaws?
Yeah, all the town's bylaws, yeah.
Okay. Public toilets, who looks after those? Is that you too as well?
Yeah, we do as well.
Okay. And also, this is just regarding public sector housing. Now, this comes up every time we talk about public sector housing. Is there means testing for public sector housing? Because some wealthy property owners, this is all Manx Skeet, it's all Manx. There are some wealthy property owners who live in public sector housing.
So, public sector housing is means tested. It's means tested on a 5-year basis, depending on when you became a tenant. So historically, it never was. So I think it's been 7 years since they brought the new contracts in on a 5-year rolling basis and means testing. So there's people who have been a tenant for 20 years, they will not have been means tested beyond their initial entry, and they aren't on a regular basis. But everyone since past 6-7 years will be.
Is that enforced?
It is, yeah, absolutely.
This is regarding, I don't know whether you know about this, a mine on South Prom, is that right? This is a message about I'll find it for you now. Lord above, Joan, we've got lots of messages in for you today. Could you, I'll find it. What's happening to the old Albert Road school site? We've found that one as well. And this is regarding let's just get to this. Let's talk about this one first. Do you believe Ramsey, I'll find the mine one in a moment, do you believe Ramsey and the North are adequately serviced by public transport? What improvements are going to be needed in the green era?
So the North's got this transport on demand service from Bus Mannin. Rather than sending buses out and around the North, you phone up and or go on their app and book a little minibus. So they were in talking to us the other week, and they seem to be really positive about it all. I know my 83-year-old father uses it on a regular basis, and sometimes it works wonderfully and sometimes it doesn't. But I suppose from that perspective, it's given him a lot more freedom, flexibility, and I would imagine that would be the case for a lot of people around the north. I think public transport is massively important when we have such a rural northern community, especially going to and from the sort of the retail hub of Ramsey. And I do think we're poorly serviced going west in the evening. It's one of my bugbears that for some reason on weekends you actually have an earlier bus leaving Ramsey going west than you do on Sunday evening, for example. And you're sort of reducing your Sulby, Ballaugh, Kirkmichael residents, if they have to make a choice between Ramsey and Peel. Well, the bus from Peel leaves at 11:45 and the bus from Ramsey leaves at 10:15. So I think that could be massively improved.
I mean, is that within your remit to lobby for that?
I think so, and if it's not, I've certainly been doing a good job of doing that for the past 3 years when I've not been supposed to. So I think what we've got to do is support our residents and the business in the town, and that's one way to do that.
Okay, there was me looking in the SMSs. It was in the WhatsApps. Big John in Laxey, could you ask Juan what happened to the huge mine that was on Murrock Prom that had a hole in it? It was a donation. It was an SAE mine that was used in the war to stop the Germans.
I have absolutely no idea, I'm afraid.
Does anybody know? If you know what happened to the old mine on Murrock Prom, then please let us know. Right, let's get to the phones. And Juan's on now. Hi, Juan. You're live with Juan.
How are you, Andy? How are you, Juan?
Yeah, I'm good. How are you, Juan?
I'm good. That's got to be the statement of the week so far. Plastic bunting blown out of all proportion. That's got to be the lead for the week, that one. Just a couple of points I just want to ask you a question on. I've had a lot of dealings with Ramsey over the years, going back to '86 when I was at the Murray Park. Had businesses there, boxing club there. I've got an affinity with Ramsey. I think it's got its own little uniqueness down there. But going on to the Murray Park in particular, and I said I know the runnings of the park quite well. I just wondered what the idea was of the commissioners to actually take away a traditional like fast food type cafe there, and more importantly the ice cream kiosk, which is obviously quite a big part in a park like that. I mean, the ice cream sales there used to be a very big part of my business. So I was just wondering what the idea of going into like a Costa type thing, and Connor's got his own business down the other side there, in comparison to having what people want to sit down for a quick snack with their kids and have an ice cream. And my other point, completely separate from that, is the continuation and the growth of Ramsey, which I think it desperately needs a little bit more of. Your opinion on the saga of the marina?
Juan, I've got to ask one question first. Are you the same Juan that does a little bit of refereeing at wrestling matches?
You're correct. You've got it.
Okay, so the Costa franchise being chosen in the park, that predates my tenure on the board, but I think the general feeling was that they produced the best option for the lease, the reliability. And I think, speaking personally, I know as a resident when Costa took it on, I initially was thinking, wouldn't it be nice to have a local businessman be able to operate there? But fundamentally, what the Commission has to look at is ensuring that is operational all year round, and day in, day out, someone can go there for that reliability, which Costa does offer. The ice cream, absolutely correct. I mean, that's a gold mine for ice cream, especially with the water park right by it. The Commissioners requested when that lease came on that whilst Costa can't provide ice cream in the store because of their franchise arrangement, that they provide ice cream separately. So they do have a little kiosk there. That hasn't run really properly for the past couple of lockdowns. The owner of that kiosk has got other far more successful businesses, and he's got to balance his time accordingly. But that's certainly something that we have raised, because realistically what we want is children to be able to go and have a play in the water park and then get an ice cream. That's part of a summer's day out in Ramsey at the Murrock Park, I think. With regards to the marina, I mean, that's a huge question. I think the current marina plan I haven't heard anything from it recently, so that seems to be dead in the water, if you excuse the pun.
Have they got the money?
Well, that's a great question, and who knows? I wouldn't begin to know. I've not really heard much materially from them since their, 2019 at Mountain View Innovation Centre. They had their sort of open day. So it's in their court to come up with some plans, but ultimately I think Ramsey Commissioners have been on record as not wanting the South Beach to be used for that regard. I think a marina, I look at the marina in Peel and I think it's wonderful as a thing to look at compared to the old sort of boats in the bottom of the harbour. Has it regenerated the street? Has that money flowed in? I don't know. So whatever marina, if one does appear in Ramsey, I think it has to improve what we have rather than just move it.
Any thoughts, Juan?
I've got to say, I've got to say over the years, I must say, Juan, over the years of dealing with Ramsey Commissioners, I've not found the commissioners or the people in charge of the commissioners very easy to deal with compared with a lot of other places that I deal with on the island. I must say that. And I do have an affinity for Ramsey. You just seem to kind of block a lot of things. I think you're missing a trick with the ice cream in the Muir Park, for sure. I don't think it was a very good move the way the commissioners went, and I think they wanted to see a trendy view of where the park should be. Where generally the people of the town, I think, were quite happy with what was there, with the ice cream and the fast food kind of kiosk which you would traditionally get.
Okay, all right.
As for the marina, it's that's a bigger subject, but I think again it needs looking at a bit more if someone comes back with the idea again. Leave it at that. Cheers, guys.
Good to hear from you. Thank you, June. Thanks for that. Reinstate the railway to the west and ask Juan if we still own the railway station, says John.
The railway station? No, I don't believe we own the land on the railway station. We do currently own the land. Well, do we own the railway station? Maybe. I would have to remind myself of the exact location of that. We own the railway line still currently.
Can you imagine? I mean, with our green future, let's just say we get a windfall of, if the Kroger gas happens and there's a windfall of billions, and they suddenly said we can put a light railway system back to Ramsey on the old track bed.
I mean, if that money was available, surely it would make more sense to be a connection between Ramsey and Douglas for commuting.
Right. So use the tram lines from Ramsey to Douglas as a because the thing is, the tram lines are industry standard. We just happen to have vintage rolling stock. Those tram lines will take modern light railway. They're built to that standard.
Yeah, in this hypothetical rich future, sure. That would be to me, if you were choosing between west or south, it would be logically south.
Okay, but blue sky thinking, I think they call it.
Yes.
Right, 16 minutes before 1, live with Juan McGuinness from Ramsey Town Commissioners.
ShopRite, shopping that's better all round. Shopping that costs less before you even start. Less travel, fuel and time, because our stores are local to you. Prices? ShopRite has low prices as well as price matching, and Switch and Save is something else. Sainsbury's own brand, hundreds of items you buy every day. Famous Sainsbury's quality assured, adding up to pounds less at the checkout. ShopRite, proudly locally owned.
Discover a great value trip away this year with Steam Packet Holidays. We have a huge array of ferry excursions and holiday packages available. Why not take a city break and indulge in culture and cuisine? Or head for a relaxing long weekend in the countryside? Take the family or just a good book? There's a Steam Packet holiday for everyone. Call Steam Packet Holidays today on 645 777 to find out more and book, or visit our travel shop in the Sea Terminal.
Heard the goss? Some very famous people have been getting cosy at Millie Chaps of Ramsey. Guess who they are? And you could win an incredible bed worth £500. Call in at Parliament Street and see if you can identify the celebs in a bed. Text their names and your name to 166 177, starting your message with the word bed. All correct entries will go into the big prize draw, live on Manx Radio at the end of the month. And check out Millie Chap's extensive bed range at the island's only Temper Collection studio. Celebs in a Bed with Millie Chaps of Ramsey and your nation station, Manx Radio.
On On an extended agenda this week, we hear from the final two candidates for the Legislative Council election. Bankers Peter Reid and David Prichter give us a full account of their background and motivation to become national politicians. Do the skills obtained from running a bank equip you for running a country? Find out on this evening's hour-long agenda special at 6 p.m. with me, Phil Gordon, on Manx Radio. With the Legco elections taking place in just over a week's time, you can find out about all the candidates by listening to Manx Radio's Legco Candidate Agenda and Perspective podcasts, and lobby your MHKs to vote for your favourite candidates.
This is the Isle of Man talking, the Mannin Line.
Faster by, good afternoon, live with Juan McGuinness from Ramsey Town Commissioners and Wilf Youngs. Wilf's on. Hi, Wilf.
I am. It's just that you were asking about the mine at the end of the swing bridge.
Yeah.
I think it eventually went for scrap. It got that bad and that rusty that it eventually went for scrap.
It didn't go for scrap to you, did it, Wilf?
No, not to me. I didn't get it. No, I know the fellow it went to, and he was going to make a big stove out of it. But I don't think that happened. I think it went to. I think it ended up in the tip. Now the other thing was that Ewan said the height of the wall going around the harbour that they want to put up 1.4 metres.
Okay, what's
That's
that?
what they want to put up.
That's about
and
just over 4
totally
feet, isn't it?
Destroy the harbour.
Yeah.
It only 2 foot. 2 foot is plenty for that. The other thing I wanted to ask Ewan was, I heard there was a meeting on tonight at the courthouse that Ewan was going to, and so I was just going to ask him what time that was, so I can join in.
That's news to me, Wilf. I don't know. I've not been invited to any meeting. You and me both been left out.
Hey?
I'm not going to any meeting tonight, so don't know.
Oh, I was told there was a meeting tonight in the courthouse.
Not that I'm aware of. Like, if there is, both you and I aren't invited.
Find out, Wilf. Let us know, Wilf.
You and I are not invited.
Yeah.
I must be. Must have something against beards, Wilf.
We're not invited.
Thanks for that, Wilf. Good to hear from you. Let's talk about the courthouse as well. Are you happy to see it how it is?
Yeah, buying the courthouse was definitely one of the proudest moments I have as a commissioner, actually, to keep it in Ramsey, keep it at the heart of Ramsey. It's been really disappointing, the years that have followed, where it's just for one reason or another, just taking its time and it's not been developed. So very pleased that the community hub now have taken it on, and wish them all the success in the world.
Okay, lots of messages in. This one's from Dick, who just says, we live in Mackleton. The gentleman's absolutely right. Ramsey's improved enormously over the last 20 years and regained much of its charter and appeal, while just over the border in Garth it's deteriorated over the same time. I think the heart's been ripped out of Laxey. And I think this is due to the amalgamation of Laxey, Lonnan and Mackle. So keep Ramsey local, avoid the mistakes here. Clearly borne out of commissioners increasing our rates by over twice that of Ramsey. It's beyond me how good they are at managing things compared to here.
Well, thanks very much for the praise.
Okay, just tell us about the boundary extension that's proposed.
Yeah, so as we touched on earlier with the housing development in the north, and it's been widely publicised, Dandara wishing to build to the west, Ramsey's pretty much reached its border with regards to housing development. The last time the boundary was reviewed was early 90s, so about 30 years ago. So it seemed very logical to us to, as we've realistically hit the edge of our development, to extend our boundary to encompass the proposed developments out west and future-proof. So rather than go through this system every single time a new development comes along, just to sort of extend the boundary around it and follow the geographical lines as they're required through the boundary guidance.
Okay, Brenda dropped a note in just to say, I understand Mr. McGuinness is lead commissioner on finance. What are the reserves like at Ramsey?
We have a reserve that means that, so let me start again. They're good in the sense that we have a cash flow reserve because the rates come in different tranches through the year, and we have large loan repayments that go out at certain points of the year. We need to have that surplus to ensure that we don't dip below, but we basically run the rates at running costs only. So we aren't dipping into the reserves now. We were for a few years, and sort of that was reducing down the reserves, but they're now at a level where we can afford a slight mistiming on rates coming in and bills going out, but we run pretty much a zero balance sheet.
Okay, apart from the rates, what's the biggest income for Ramsey Town Commissioners?
Rates.
Just rates? No. And anything after rates? Any incomes on rents and stuff like that?
So that all goes through the Housing Deficiency Fund. So realistically, the rent that we receive in just goes into paying off the loans for purchasing land and building the houses and the maintenance.
Okay. Any chance, says Maggie in Sulby, any chance of bringing back the little shuttle bus that used to run between the bus station up past Brookfield and the sheltered housing? My sister and a lot of the seniors used to use the service. They don't all have access to phones with apps.
The skipper bus, yes. Very, very fond memories of that myself.
It was popular, wasn't it?
It was very popular. 50p for a loop around Ramsey, if I recall, when I used to get it. The bus service, this on-demand service, agreed, doesn't apps on for everybody. You can phone up and book and speak to a person manually. I know that because I've heard my 83-year-old father do it. So it is possible. I agree that, a lot of people prefer just to know that there's a bus on the hour every hour looping around. Department for Transport, Department for Infrastructure don't seem to be interested in doing that, and so I would recommend that if you can't use and aren't using the bus service on demand, that you contact BusVan and let them know so they have that feedback.
A message in from Jack who just says the marina has been a big topic in Ramsey. It's been a topic for years, hasn't it?
20 odd years. Yeah.
I mean, remember Dean and Dybel when they were trying to do something in Ramsey.
Ramsey against incentive development.
Yes. The last one sounded like an excellent proposal, but it's gone quiet. Do you know if the marina is dead in the water or is it still ongoing?
I know as much as anyone. I've not heard anything from them for months, if not years.
And do you think, because a lot of people spoke out against it, is that because it looked like a housing development with a marina attached to it?
I think there's a lot of different reasons. I think some people just didn't want to lose the beach, but I think a lot of people did see the risk of it being a housing development first and a marina second, yeah. Okay,
do you see any merit in the fact that it would be a very well-used marina across the Irish Sea?
Oh, absolutely. If you have an asset in the town that brings people from all around the UK and that money flows into the town and it's prosperous, then it's absolutely wonderful if that happens.
Why are the streetlights on all day in Ramsey, says Jenny?
This question comes up quite a bit. They aren't on all day all the time. They should be on at least once a week because that is the easiest way for the Manx Utilities to go around and check that the lights are still working.
Okay, Ramsey's a car park everywhere, so why on earth can't we have a 2-storey car park and get the parking off South Prom? I think it's dangerous. Text to 399.
So that would be very expensive. In order to find the land and put a whatever storey car park on, that would become a massive expense. Realistically, the only way you could pay for that is by starting to charge for parking, which is something I'm absolutely against. I think, like I said earlier, Ramsey's USP is you can come, there's free parking for a couple of hours. And yeah, there are some spots in and around Ramsey where cars park and it's maybe not great, but ultimately you drive to the conditions and it should be, I'd say, still safe at 10 to 20 miles an hour, which is what you should be doing in town.
Okay, can I ask... This is Tracy who just says, you talked to Laurie Hooper about being a commissioner and becoming an MHK. What's Juan McGuinness's political ambitions? You didn't stand last time, did you?
No, I've never stood for MHK. I am thoroughly enjoying being a commissioner. And listen, 2026 is a long way away, isn't it? So worry about that another time.
Is it something, do you follow the Manx politics closely?
Yeah, I'm interested in politics, and I think Ramsey's got a couple of really good MHKs. So, who knows what the future will hold?
Okay, what's your view on the Britannia pub?
Well, I missed the Britannia pub. Played a lot of really good gigs there. Enjoyed playing the pool room. So it's a shame to see it rotten. Heron and Braley have put some plans in action to put some planning in. Good for them. If that can be sold, regenerated, brought up to spec, whatever, turned into another great spot in Ramsey, be it flats or otherwise, all for it.
Okay, which brings me on. I don't know whether you know Dave, who just says, are you still into music yourself?
Sorry?
Are you still into music yourself?
Oh, no. Listen, I was a bass player, so I wasn't a musician, really.
Oh, right.
I left that many years ago.
Who did you play with? A band?
Yeah, I played with a local band from school. My best friend Mike Jelski, who's in more bands you can shake a stick at still these today. And the band we were in were called Freshly Shaven, which was a joke because I was not.
So with Joe McGuinness from Ramsey Town Commissioners, I'll just get there. There are tons and tons of questions. I'll try and pick them. If I don't ask your question, I'm terribly sorry about this. The lots on the Quayside development there. Just reiterate the DOI thing. So there is dialogue between Ramsey Town Commissioners Absolutely. And the DOI, yep. And it's just regarding reduction of car parking. Was the pinch point for the commissioners, was it that wall that would have destroyed the view, or was it the reduction in car parking?
I think it was a combination. I think both. The parking, I would say, takes the precedence because you have an argument over the flood defences. We need flood defences, absolutely. I know Wilf would tell you that we just need 2 foot, and that's fine. I think flood defences that are not going to destroy the whole harbour is important, though. Got to work with that.
Okay. Right. Well, thanks for being with us today. Good to talk to you.
The Mannin Line with Andy Wint.
And Juan McGuinness has been with us today. This week on Manx Radio, we've got an open line tomorrow. On Wednesday, Chief Exec of Manx Care is on. Teresa Cope will be on with also the leads from the Western Wellbeing Partnership and the Northern Wellbeing Partnership. We're open line Thursday and Friday. Next Monday, Richard Hubbard is on, the Chief Exec of, you got it, Kroger Gas, the people who are aiming to drill for gas off Mackle. Richard Hubbard will be on Mannin Line next Monday. That's it. Thanks to Chris Quirk on the phones today. Thanks for lots and lots of messages in today. I hope you learnt a little bit more about Ramsey. Enjoy the rest of your Monday.